I'm Gabriel Morin. I'm a mobile developer. Before that, I was making music and sound design. I used to work at Ubisoft to making sound design for the games, and then I became multimedia designer, where I kind of got introduced into coding, but with a language that was made by our company and that's used nowhere else. So it was more an introduction to coding, like something a bit more simplified. And now I completed my transformation from sound to code by coding on Android, iOS, and some other languages.
What made you switch from sound design to programming?
When I decide to make sound, it can be sound design or music or all those kind of stuff, is because I like to create stuff. Actually, with programming, you can create more stuff, and so I like the possibilities that it gave me to do this, and I always was a little bit into it before. So I chose code because it was more out of a frustration, because sometimes I had less work to do in the company and I wanted to change some stuff or to create some stuff, but I didn't have the knowledge to, so I started to learn a little bit, make little stuff. And the best thing when you want to learn something is to have stuff that you want to do. And so this was driving me to learn. Basically, is this frustration to not being able to do some stuff, and now I can do it. So
how long did it take you to pick up coding, like programming?
I don't really know, because like I said, I started by coding with languages that no one uses, even though I don't know exactly to what compare it, but it's quite basic logic, a bit like C or C++, but in a very much more simplified version that was made to use in our games. So all this to say, basically it took a few days to manage to do some stuff with the help of someone that showed me everything. This was really nice at the beginning. One of the guys spent 2 days with me, showing me everything, explaining me the logic, etc. And then he kind of left me on my own, and every time I had a question he would answer. So this was a very good thing for me to learn quickly, and this just gave me the logic and also the confidence to know, actually you can get to result quite fast if you really want to do it. And when I had this confidence, I started to look into other programming languages, and then you manage to do one other thing, then another thing, then you feel everything is possible, and then you don't stop learning, basically.
So it was like part of your job, sort of?
Kind of on the end. So basically I did 2 years on my job, something like this. A bit less than 2 years of coding in my job, and not full time, like sometimes, but a good share of the time. And then a lot of time at home learning more classic languages. And it's been 1 year that I've been really doing this on Android and iOS, and a bit on the server side as well.
You spent a year kind of focusing on it after you got some exposure from your job. Okay, cool.
Exactly.
So how long do you think, if a total beginner wanted to try coding, how long would it take if someone focused really hard?
If you were doing only this in your day, basically.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
On each person, it depends a lot on each person, because we don't have the same way to think. And actually, I'm already when I was making music, I was very mathematical in my way of making music. Everything had to be 4 bars, 8 bars, 16 bars, and to fit exactly like this. And people were kind of making fun of me or caricaturing me in a nice way, but being the mathematician of music and not people playing music with feelings, So for me, it was maybe more natural. But I guess what's important to pick up code is just that you have something that you want to achieve. It's something you want to build, and every time you're stuck by something, you have to find what is blocking you here, how to learn it, and this way, that's how you learn all those little pieces. It's just because you want to do something, not because you have an exercise where you have to do something without meaning, just because for the sake of learning it. It's just because you want to make something work. So if you have a little idea of very simple project that you really want to do, something that you choose, not something that's imposed to you, you will learn very fast, and maybe a few weeks, few months to have the basis, and then it's sort of a question of being curious and having experience. The more time you spend, the more you will be able to go to the same conclusion but faster or in a cleaner way, etc. And code that you wrote 6 months ago, you will write it differently today. So basically, you always learn, always improve, and you can always do something even by being terrible at it. You will make something work, even if it's not clean, it will work, and you will make it better later. So you will learn.
So you kind of learn by doing something you're passionate about, and then building that out, basically. Cool.
Exactly.
Okay. So what languages have you learned so far?
So I look in a lot of different languages, but without really putting them in practice. But the one I use the most, of course, is Java for Android, Swift on iOS, JavaScript a bit for the front end, but mostly with Node.js, which is using JavaScript to make a server. So I use Node.js server side, and that's the one I used the most recently. And mainly because I'm working on a project which is an app for helping people to learn new languages. And on this app, at first it was very simple, so I started doing it on both phones, like developing native on both phones. So I learned how to do stuff on both phones, and then I wanted to have a backend, so I learned how to make a server. And it's like I was saying, because I wanted to have this, I really wanted to have this, so I had to learn to do it, and this way it was very motivating, and it didn't feel like working at all.
Do you find there are any challenges with coding? Like, what are the pros and cons of the field, I guess?
Okay, so the main challenge and pleasure in coding is that you learn all the time, and you have to learn all the time. So it's quite strange, because in a way that's what keeps you going, because you are not bored of doing the same thing all the time. But at some point, sometimes it's also frustrating, because you just want to do something, but you have to learn first. So every day you want to do something, and you're like, I have to learn. And when you don't learn enough, you start getting bored. When you learn too much, you start being frustrated because you don't progress enough on the job. But apart from this, so the only pain is the pleasure. So
that's true.
So it's quite okay.
So if I wanted to learn how to program, where should I begin, or what are the best resources for learning code?
So the best resource is everyone will tell you probably Stack Overflow, which is not a website made to learn, but it's a website made to ask a question when you are blocked in your code, because basically all the time you are doing something, you don't know how to do part of it, so you just type on Google how to do this, or when you have a bug, you write your bug, and someone had the same bug or the same question, ask it on this website, and you always have the question and just below the answer. And this way you don't learn by doing tutorials, even though it's always good to start by this, because this way you have the basis. If you know nothing, start by a tutorial.
So what's your overall goal with coding?
And me, what I would really like is more to evolve on a more product manager or product design thing, is just use this knowledge to make projects happen, really understand what are the problems of the coding teams, really understand also what are the problematics on the design side, and on all the stuff basically. And before I was doing more design, more production, and less coding. Now I've done a lot of code, and I want to use this to more turn into some kind of product manager guy, I guess.
For people who want to start code, what would you say are some characteristics that you think a coder would have? That makes sense.
So I would say curious, very curious, really always wants to know what's the better way to do it, but at the same time a little bit impatient to limit this curiosity side, because it's very important to be curious, to always find a better way to do what you do, but at the same time to be impatient, so you can at some point say stop, okay, maybe there's a better way, but I need to progress,